I said, don't worry about the things that you can't control. It's wasted energy. It's empty calories. Don't worry about that. Get on with the things that you can control. And, I still do believe that.
This podcast encourages and empowers you to create your own unique real story, develop your own unique real statement, and discover your own unique real self. The power is yours. Good morning, Adam Gordon. Previously, episode 1786 of the 12-Minute Convos podcast. It's been just 2 years, 1 month, 23 days, 5 hours, and 30 minutes since we last recorded that conversation. That was then, this is now. Adam, how are you doing today?
Wow. Yeah, no, great. My mouth is open because I'm really amazed that you got that down to the hours and the minutes. So it doesn't seem like 2 years, 1 month, and 23 days ago that I spoke to you. No, it doesn't. But there's probably a lot happened in that time, however.
Yeah, well, tell us. How have things evolved? When we did speak, I remember New York, and I believe I think New York was cool going for the event you were going for, but it was like your wife, though. It felt as though you were honoring a dream that she had by honoring your dream when we last spoke. So tell me, how have things evolved?
Yeah, that's right. So there's a lot of things happened that I wasn't expecting to happen. And there's some things that didn't happen that I was expecting to happen. So as you mentioned, when we talked last, my wife told her father when she was 4 years old she'd live in New York one day. And when I last spoke to you, we were just a couple of months away from going and spending a full month living and working there. Well, in the period between you and I doing this 12-minute convo and us due to be going to New York, she was headhunted and approached about a new job. And unfortunately, she took the new job, but her existing employers told her she needed to serve her notice here in the UK. And so we had to forego that opportunity at that time. But the interesting thing is, in the new job, she has got teams in the USA and she's got lots of reasons to actually be in the USA. And it might well be that this summer, we're actually going to be there for much longer than 1 month. So it feels like it didn't happen at the time. It was going to be lots of fun. It was going to be cool. It was going to be very productive for my business. But she got a new job and she got an exciting new international position, and it's just been delayed. So it looks like we're going to actually do it this summer instead.
Well, let's dig into that, though. That ability that you have to make decisions that support your wife at the forefront. I mean, how does that make you feel? Well, I'm guessing at the point in time it didn't feel too well, right? It didn't feel too great. But seeing it a couple of years that have passed, how does it make you feel today?
Well, I think she's had a lot of career progression in that time, and that's very exciting for her and for our family. But I do feel very pleased that I've got myself into a position where I can work almost anywhere. So I've created a very flexible scenario.
Well, let's dig into what you do professionally, Adam. CandidateID.com. Come on, open that up for us, please.
Yeah, Candidate ID we describe it as the world's first talent pipeline software. And that's how I described it last time we did this conversation. The really cool thing that's happened in the last 2 years is people are using the term talent pipeline automation. They are calling our company CID instead of Candidate ID. They're talking about hire ready candidates, and they're talking in language that we've effectively created and we've put into a very established industry. You've got rapport when people are starting to talk in your language and using your terms and using acronyms for your business. So when I spoke to you, we were about 18 months in. We're now just over 3 years in. We're about 3.5 years in, and things have progressed a lot. So we've got 15 people in the business. We're based in the UK. 80% of our customers are in the UK and the USA, and the other 20% are in Europe and Asia. So we've got an international customer base now. We're much more established than we were, and it remains a lot of fun.
Wow. So patience and tenacity, they've worked out well, haven't they?
They really have. And there are two skills that I currently call upon a lot, because when you've got customers who are international employers who are looking at different, better ways of doing things, of course, the bigger they are, the longer they take to make decisions. But when they actually say, right, okay, let's get going, we're ready now, it's very, very exciting. So patience and tenacity remain two of the most important skills in my kind of toolbox.
One of the things we opened up in our conversation in your earliest childhood memory was what seemed to be this telepathic connection between your mother when you said mince when she was just thinking it, right? And
Yeah.
within that, it seems as though there's this skill set or this talent that you have for deep listening, that voice, if you would, that I'm seeing as a consistent theme on the podcast, a voice that urges you on. That ability to discern that voice is challenging for sometimes. How are you able to, Adam, discern the voice amongst all of the other voices that you're hearing to do what needs to be done?
I think that you've got to take accountability for other people understanding you. So there's a couple of aspects to this. I think the first thing is if somebody doesn't understand you, I think it's your fault. It's not their fault. You haven't projected properly. You haven't communicated properly. So I think it's really important that the communicator is clear and explains the details they need to explain and starts off with the simple aspects of whatever it is they're communicating and then takes them on a journey through maybe a story. But the other thing is, not everybody does that. So if you need to understand other people, then don't just accept in your mind, I'm not quite sure what that person means, but I'll just move on. I think it's really important to stop and dwell when somebody's explaining something. And if you're not following what they're saying, to say, could you just explain in a bit more detail what you mean about that? Or give me an example, some context. Or it's really important to ask precise questions and get to the detail of what it is somebody's saying to you. And people very regularly are communicating in a way that they think is clear, but actually it comes across as very subtle. And for example, if somebody's unhappy, they don't necessarily say, I'm unhappy. There's just ways you can detect it. So I think it's vital to have the confidence to be able to actually ask people how they feel and how does that make them feel, and then get to the details of what it is they're trying to say to you, whether that's in a professional context or whether it's in a personal relationships. I think understanding people is important, but if you've got enough self-awareness, then how you communicate with others, it's important to consider that if they don't understand you, it's not necessarily their fault because they're seeing what you're projecting.
Self-awareness brings us to a topic where it's possible that you could die today or tomorrow. It's something to be very, very much aware of. Some people, however, put it in the forefront of their thoughts, some in the back end of their mind. How do you approach that conversation, that possibility that you could die today or tomorrow, Adam?
Wow, that wasn't what I was prepared for. I try and make the most of my time. Like at the weekend, for example, I took my 5-year-old son to a football match. I took him to a Glasgow Celtic football match. I am not a Glasgow Celtic football fan, but I knew it would be a good experience for him. And I knew it would be a good experience for the two of us to do it together. So I think looking outside at what's going on and getting involved in things and trying different things and making the most of the time you have is really important. But, I'm not lazy and I'm very self-driven. And I know that not everybody's the same. So, how they do things might be different. But for me, it's definitely about make the most of now. But it's another interesting aspect to the question you've just asked. It was my 43rd birthday yesterday.
Wow, happy birthday. Well, belated birthday, but wow, you don't look like 43. I would give you 37.
Yeah, no, thank you. But anyway, the thing is, I'm 43, and my kids, who can't really choose presents because they're 5 and 2, so it was my wife, got me a like full health check. And that was my birthday present, was I go into this scanning machine and it tells you whether you're not feeling very well or whatever, because I do avoid these things, So I do, if I don't feel very well or there's some sort of ache or something like that, I kind of ignore it. So I wouldn't know if I was going to die tomorrow. There's probably lots of illnesses that could kill me tomorrow and I don't even know I've got it. So I tend to just get on with things and try and have fun, but have as many experiences as possible. Not as many as you, I don't think, because yours is really remarkable. But I don't believe in wasting time. And what I mean by that is, before going to sleep at night, a lot of people read novels, a lot of people watch fiction and things like that. And, I think that's a good way to maybe unwind. I do the same thing, but I tend to try and be learning something, which probably isn't a good way to unwind. But, I'm pretty relentless about trying to get as much knowledge and as much experience with all of my spare time.
Well, you were the guy that said on our last conversation, the whole is much bigger than the sum of it all. And there's something else that you said was really cool as well. People help augment your achievement.
Mm-hmm.
And I just want to say, Adam, I think it's a grand opportunity for me to call in and to hear that you've not given up, right? Of course, things may have changed or it's evolved in terms of what you're doing, but you've not given up. And I think that is the theme of this podcast, that there is hope for those who apply the thing that is their passion and then go after it and not give up. So saying that, thank you for your service to humanity. In closing, however, is there anything else you'd like to share with our amazing audience?
Yeah, I do. And it was something that I talked about last time, which was, I said, don't worry about the things that you can't control. It's wasted energy. It's empty calories. Don't worry about that. Get on with the things that you can control. And, I still do believe that. But in the last 2 years, I think, especially progressively becoming, moving further into parenthood, I think there's probably more things that I can control and I can actually have an impact on than maybe there was a couple of years ago. And I look at the way the world's going, I look at politics, and I look at climate change, and I look at poverty, and I look at a lot of things which appear to have got worse since I last spoke to you. And I think I'm starting to get to the point where I am going to be working in those areas because I know I can do things about them. A couple of years ago, I probably wasn't too focused on what I'm doing and what's right in front of me. But I'm now getting to the point where, as my children are growing up, the world around them needs every pair of hands and every pair of eyes need to be focused on some of the things that are happening in our world today. And if not, then the future might not be as certain for humanity. So, yeah.
Yeah, I fully support you on that. It's probably because we're getting to be two old guys, but nothing's wrong with that. Yeah, I totally agree. Having 3 sons, yeah, the focus is on community, how we can help. So, yeah, I'm on there with you, right? With that,
yes.
Adam. On there, for sure. Again, amazing audience, Adam Gordon. You can check out candidateid.com. Folks are checking out CID. Imagine that. This thing has transformed. Adam, a pleasure, I treasure. Thank you for being on What Is Inspired by 12-Minute Convos with Angel Jones. This podcast is produced by Pod Edits. Visit podedits.com for professional podcast publishing.